Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy. You thought you could hide in the sands of time, but the truth's coming down like a phoenix fire from Archaix. The hammer falls. Of the rich at you spin your web of lies, claiming Atlantis rose there under desert skies. But Plato's words are twisted in your grifter's game. 9600 BC, man, that's just lame. You run from debates like a coward in the night. Hancock's your buddy, but you both ain't right. Younger Dryas dreams all crashing down while you're chasing views in your conspiracy town. Göbekli Tepe, pay your life out the stones. Pottery dates left them buried like bones. Unfinished pillars, backfilled in haste. Cataclysm hit, but you call it a waste. You get so upset when the facts come to light. Personal attacks, yeah, you're spoiling for a fight. Accusing folks of faking cancer, that's low. But Archaix is here, stealing the show. Jimmy upsetting, oh, you're burning out. Grifter in the desert, full of doubt. Shill for the masses, pushing Nazi shit. But the truth from Archaix, it's a perfect hit. Run, Jimmy, run from the debate stage. Your theories crumble in the simulated cage. Upsetting spaghetti, tangled in your lies. The world's waking up, saying goodbye. Billy Carson's crew, Randall's wild ride. You all huddle up, but there's nowhere to hide. LaCroix whispers, Bible draws the lines, but your star alignment's just wasting our time. David Axe echoes, Sitchin's old tales. You peddle the fiction while the real data prevails. Piri Reeves maps, you claim Ice Age art, but no metal plates, no ancient hearts. Sensational clicks, that's your only fuel, while Archaix drops bombs, making you look the fool. Joe Rogan's couch, you'd sell your soul to sin, but the purge is coming and you're caught in it. You get so upset when the chronos unwind, looped in the matrix, leaving you behind. Call out the cowards from Carson to brag. Archaix is rising, cracking your egg. Jimmy upset, oh, you're burning out. Grifter in the desert, full of doubt. Shill for the masses, pushing Nazi shit. But the truth from Archaix, it's a perfect hit. Run, Jimmy, run from the debate stage. Your theories crumble in the simulated cage. Upsetty spaghetti, tangled in your lies. The world's waking up, saying goodbye. Oh, Jimmy, why'd you have to go so low? Faking the facts, stealing the show. From the Sphinx's gaze to the Zodiac's lie, your empire's falling, no alibi. Archaix roars with the napalm truth, burning your bridges, exposing the proof. No more hiding in your bright inside veil. The sin
Hello, hello. I'm pretty sure the audio is good. If I can get an affirmative on that, give me a Roger Roger and I will take off. I was changing some settings, so that's the only reason I'm asking. Very good. Excellent. Very good. Yeah, I tweaked some volume settings, and sometimes I have to go into the computer rather than the StreamYard app. All right. Awesome. So I didn't know I would be doing this video. Lately, a lot of my videos were unanticipated. I had no idea I was going to be doing this one because I had no idea that somebody was going to drop such an inane piece of garbage onto the social media sphere. And now the idiosphere has a little bit more to work with. It is the dumbest video I've ever seen, and I'm really unimpressed with Ken Wheeler, somebody that you guys have been telling me about. Not all of you, but some of you have been trying to bring to my attention, hey, you need to reach out to Ken Wheeler. You need to talk to Ken Wheeler about these things. Well, I've been telling people there's no crossover here. My area of expertise is chronology as applied to world history. That is what I promised from the very beginning, and that's what I've delivered. I don't know anything about Ken Wheeler's material, but this right here, what I'm about to unleash on Ken Wheeler, would have never happened had he stayed in his lane, had he continued on with his own area of expertise, whatever the hell that is. I don't know. It sure isn't Greek, as we'll see. But I was very unimpressed with his 28-minute video trying to propose 5 things about Atlantis that are all patently untrue. I thought he was more educated than this, but he's put his foot in his mouth, and I'm going to help him take it out. But I asked my community, because I don't like to blindside anybody. I asked my community, would you please go watch his video? I said it on X. It was filtered through all the Archaix Facebook groups, Telegram, Cypher, the Underground. So I'm hoping some of y'all went and watched that video. I don't want anybody to think that I'm making anything up, nor would I have ever even imagined to trespass onto his domain, whatever that domain entails. I don't know. He's not on my radar. He's never been on my radar. But I'm in the middle of a war, and there seems to be very few rules of engagement, but it's a very unique war. It's a war where the prize is hidden from the populace. The prize being a phenomenon that is so well recorded in history, only blanket censorship kept you from knowing it until the advent of Archaix. Until you are able to see not what Jason says. This isn't trust me, bro science, but what Jason has showed you. And in showing you all this, it was revealed through Archaix, and you realize, holy shit, this isn't a prophecy or a prediction about what's coming in May of 2040, followed by November of 2046. This is very detail specific data sets concerning 58 centuries of world history. And you've never heard these things before. So I'm in a very unique war. It's one against the many. I have no one in social media, not one single channel on my side. None. Not one person has ever come forth and looked at the Ogygian deluge, the dates for the flood, all the chronological material I presented, and added value to it. No one. People criticize out the side of their mouth, but no one's come forth with a channel debunking the Archaix paradigm with anything of substance. Everything they bring is tenuous and of shadow. So it's a very unique war. It's a war of one against a whole network of shills all working together behind the scenes. They've added one to their ranks. I don't know who reached out to this guy. There's no way that Ken Wheeler of the whatever the hell his channel's called. Theoria Apophasis, whatever it is. There's no way this man is this dumb. But this is what he put out, so we're going to have to deal with it. To me, I want to believe that somebody reached out because he's always crying about being broke. Ken Wheeler's always crying about money. He's trying to always get money from his community. You know what? I hope that's what really happened. I hope it was somebody behind the scenes say, hey, man, look, it's nothing to us. We'll cut you a $10,000 check. We need you to promote younger Dryas. We need you to promote, our hero, Graham Hancock, over here is really taking a beating. We need some more people out in the field. I'm hoping that's what it was. I can accept that. That's a part of the rules of engagement. But if he just on his own reached out there and picked a topic for which he knows nothing about concerning tangential historical information and chronological data for which he obviously knows nothing about, and did this stupid ass little 30-minute video trying to tell his own community that he's the smartest guy in the room. He literally said something tantamount to that. Yeah, everybody in the world's stupid, but him, he's got it. Trust me, bro. Didn't provide the facts, just said, man, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Absolutely ridiculous. So I got my helmet on because this is a part of the war. It's a calculated war, but it's a war that I signed up for. Because I wanted to be a one-man operation that shows that the truth will take down all this bullshit. I don't need to network with all these multimillionaires. I have denied myself entry to all kinds of places I've been invited to because of the participants that were going to be there. I'm not going to network with some shills. I'm not going to do it. I don't need to do it because there comes a tipping point. There comes a time when the light can't be obscured by darkness. There comes a time when the population reaches the saturation point of, damn, not only has this guy steadily been roasting all these people, but the silence itself has become deafening. Deafening. Because why hasn't any one of these people done a debunking video, debunking all the chronological data that I put out there that exposes them for being in error? Why? If you don't think that this is orchestrated to hide something very valuable from the public, if you think that the younger Dryas impact theory is just a bullshit theory that was put out there, you're not paying attention to what's going on and how many people are promoting this with zero evidence. Because if all these YouTubers and all these X accounts, Jay Anderson's one of them, I include him too, all these people are basically packaging up every mystery of the ancient world, every destruction, every reset, all the cataclysm, catastrophist geography and geology is all neatly packaged with a nice red bow and set way back there 12,000 years ago to the younger Dryas. That's the agenda, and they're all in on it. They're all in on it. They're not about the truth, guys. I call these people out because they are liars. They are not making mistakes. We've passed that years ago. Years ago. There is an agenda to keep the general public from really understanding what has unfolded in the last 58 centuries. In the last 58 centuries, we have resets. We have world destructions, and they happen with greater regularity than 12,000 years. And when you document those, they reveal a precise mathematical pattern. And this is what is being kept from you. To package everything as younger Dryas is to obscure and hide the real history of the human race. This is why I have taken up this battle, and this is why I am confident that all I have to do is what I'm doing right now. Keep on chipping away, keep on exposing it, because the greatest weapon that I will ever have is not the truth, and it's not the data sets that they can't they can't break. The greatest weapon I have is the increasingly deafening silence from everybody I call out. You'll see faces and names because I'm listing them all in this video. Toward the end of this video, I'm exposing them. Here are the people. These people are networked together. Behind the scenes, there have been conversations. There maybe money has changed hands. These are the people who have the greatest vested interest in making sure you believe in this bullshit. We're going to be talking about it today. And I'm glad that this poor bastard here that I'm about to handle actually gave me the opportunity to do this. Because one of the 5 tenets that he was pushing about Atlantis, oh my God, he opened up a can of worms when he tried to tell his community what the Atlanteans called themselves. Because that word is so well documented in the archaeological, textual, and traditional record that he's going to be embarrassed by the end of this video, because that word actually overturns his entire thesis. Well, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. This one's going to be for the books. Check my chat, make sure everything's flowing just right. Yeah, guys, there's no way at all that in all these conventions, all these podcasts, yeah, think about it, hundreds of podcasts, thousands of videos, meetups, conferences, conventions, all these people getting together. What's the one thing they never mention? Jason of Archaix. You think that's a coincidence? Do you really believe none of these people know me when I have personally emailed them and called them out for debate? When you guys have emailed them and blown their comment sections up? When you have watched their moderators in real time remove your comments under their videos and shit? Do you really believe that Archaix is unknown in social media? No. They know damn well that I'm coming for them. I'm not asking for allies. I got into it with somebody on X this morning about Health Ranger interviewing Billy Carson. Cool. You just told me and everybody who follows me that you're a shill too. I don't give a damn about Health Ranger being a Texan. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm not asking to talk to Health Ranger. I am not at all asking to get on the Jewish-controlled Joe Rogan show. People misconstrue what I'm about. No, I'm about showing the world that one man can make a difference. That's what I'm about. I'm about showing the world that all it takes is to just stand your ground, keep chipping away, and your professional adversaries will do themselves in. That's what I'm doing. It takes no extra energy on my part. None. That's what I'm doing. You can F off with all your stupid ass emails you guys keep. Some of y'all keep sending me talking about I need to stand down. I need to learn how to network with these people. No, man, I'm not learning. I'm not trying to network. I'm not looking for any allies. Yeah, F off. I have accepted the fact that I'm at war and that I'm surrounded, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with it. Yeah, man, screw all these dudes. And females. There's a couple females here in this list. Anyway. Yeah, Pam, so many friggin' emails, so little time. In the very first minute of Ken Wheeler's video, I thought it was MK Ultra for a second. I know you guys listened to it. But first he says, everybody says the same goofy silliness about Atlantis. That was my end. Thank you, Ken, for that. Because I'm a part of everybody. That was my invitation. And then he follows that up with some weird, obscure, mystical, theosophical society mumbo jumbo BS about time and space and there's a place that's nowhere. That happened at some distant time that never happened. It's so weird. I just, I overlooked it. It's not even a part of my presentation. I just remember how obscure and weird it was. It's like, it seemed to me that it was a failed attempt at someone to convey that they were more lofty than they were, that maybe they had some secretive esoteric information for which the rest of us, we had to fawn over him over. I don't know, man, but this profound saturation of ego that comes off of Ken Wheeler was a real deal killer. As I listened to the video, I had to suppress my own revulsion, because throughout the whole video he just reeks with condescension. He hasn't earned it. He hasn't earned it. It's like, wow, man, what a POS. So I listened through the whole video, but I'm gonna let you see what I saw now. We're gonna go through it. Oh, it's called narcissism. Okay, I could use it. I guess I could have used that word. I guess I could. So the first thing that this man wants to promote is nothing original. It's not original to Ken Wheeler. I opened up this video here with an introduction about Jimmy Corsetti. For those of you who don't know, in 2008. In 2008, two people were flying over North Africa and they saw the Reichstag structure, or the Richat structure. I think that's how you pronounce it. So they later scheduled a tour. They scheduled a trip, and on the ground they went back because they said, "Wow, they saw concentric rings and it was huge." And they said, "Man, that kind of looks like Plato's Atlantis, but it's in the wrong location." But still, they went back and they were very curious. They were going to go down in history as making the greatest discovery of all time. They went back on their own money. You know what they published once they got there? Yeah, 485 meter high, gigantic geographical dome walls, because it was a collapsed salt dome. It had formed underwater with magma pushing, high pressure pushing from underneath. When they got there, they realized, damn, man, it sure looked like this from the sky. But now that we're here, yeah, there's nothing here. This is a geological formation. And they just let it go. Somebody 5 or 6 years ago picked up on it, mentioned it, tried to push the Atlantis stuff, and it kind of faded away. The story came into the possession of Jimmy Corsetti, who at that time was an unknown. He would still be unknown today. Yeah, Jimmy Corsetti, he listens to my presentations. I've called him out so many times for so much bullshit he's published. Yeah, radio silence. Jimmy Corsetti is only known to people today because he picked up the story of the Richat structure, painted it as Atlantis, and that behind the scenes control network that wants you to ignore 58 centuries of human recorded history to push a younger Dryas narrative, picked him up. Just like they picked up Michael Button, just like they picked up Billy Carson, just like they picked up for temporarily. I seriously doubt anybody's ever going to network with that shill Dan Richards again. Yeah, he's struggling right now. He's on his way down. But they were all willing to shill that narrative. They have been given huge platforms, and it's embarrassing because they've been given all the advantages Archaix has never been given, and yet Archaix analytics are off the chart. It's embarrassing. But Jimmy Corsetti ran with that story, tried to manipulate the data, and that's what that song is about. And I did a video on it. I'll show you the thumbnail here in a little while about Jimmy Corsetti and how I completely dismantled the whole Richat structure narrative. There's just one fact. There's a bunch of facts I bring to the table, but there's one fact that overrides them all, and it is a archaeological fact of what was found on the surface, what scientists claim was found on the surface that completely eliminates the entire area as being Atlantis. It's just ridiculous. But we'll get to that in a minute. So Ken Wheeler really pushed that Richat structure hard in that video. He asserted it as fact as if it's a foregone conclusion. Yeah, man, it's a foregone conclusion. So let's look at this shit. I don't even think this video is going to be 2 hours. I normally go 3.5 hours when I'm scarring somebody up. But you guys, you're going to see new Atlantis material. Oh, Archaix veterans, you got a badass new chart. You got an all new Atlantis chart, a chart I've never done before. It's badass. You're going to like it. It's going to be, I summed up all the Atlantis stuff into one chart. It looks good. It's not too congested. It's a timeline. It's badass. All right. We'll get to that in a minute. Let me share my screen. Let's start looking at Ken Wheeler's claims in accordance to the facts. So for those of you who don't know, Ken Wheeler said that Atlantis is a Rishat structure. He also said that Atlantis was never in the Atlantic. He also said that Atlantis was never an island. He also said that Atlantis was never called Atlantis. It's called Tanit. Remember that. So he also said that the Atlanteans were first and the ancient Egyptians were their descendants. Where have you heard that before? Oh, Theosophical Society. Helena Blavatsky. Oh, you know what? Rudolf Steiner. Who else said that? Anne Besant. Who else said that? The Golden Dawn Society. Who else said that? Oh, Edgar Cayce. Who else said that? All the mystics. Yeah. The Atlanteans are the parent civilization, the ancient Egyptians. Well, we're going to disprove that here. So easy to disprove. I'm still waiting on G.G. Young and Dark Journalists to get back with me on that one. That's probably never going to happen. All right. So, location of Atlantis according to Plato. Plato explicitly placed Atlantis in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Hercules. And in the ancient world, during Plato's time, it was widely known that that narrow strait dividing the Mediterranean to the Atlantic Ocean was the Pillars of Hercules. It's never been a question. It's exactly. Atlantis was placed in front of the straits, which are by you called the Pillars of Hercules. The central island, Plato calls it an island like 20 different times in the narratives. The central island being approximately 5 stadia in diameter. The entire city complex, including its rings of land and water, extended to about 127 stadia. So this is 14.6 miles in diameter. It's actually significantly larger than Plato's described Atlantis. I'm talking about the Rishat structure. The Rishat structure is way bigger than Plato's Atlantis. I believe it was Jimmy Corsetti who gave off the fake dimensions on Atlantis to make it sound more like the size of the Rishat structure. So Plato wrote that Atlantis was swallowed up by the sea and vanished. Also, the island of Atlantis disappeared. This is in Plato's narratives. This is what's published in hundreds of books on Atlantis. Plato said Atlantis was submerged beneath the sea. The Rishat structure is on dry ground. We're going to learn more about that, the Rishat too. So Plato wrote that the submerged region of Atlantis, in Plato's day, the submerged region of Atlantis was still a hazard to shipping in his time. And they had to watch out because the bottom of the ships would hit submarine architecture and would get caught in the shoals of mud and all kinds of flotsam and jetsam from when Atlantis was above the ocean. This is Plato. Now, that doesn't sound like the Rishat structure. Since when have any ships sailed over the continent of Africa in recorded human history and sailed back and forth from the Rishat structure? And in Plato's day, in between the northern Sahara and northern Egypt, in between those places, there's supposed to be a bunch of mud and sunken architecture which ships get caught in. This is in Plato's day, which means that Ken Wheeler is trying to get us to believe. He's trying to get us to believe that that mud in that area that became impassable was there for 9,000 years, because that's Plato's dating, right? Excuse me. Ken Wheeler said that. He said, oh yeah, Atlantis was destroyed 12,000 years ago. And Plato said that even in his day, there was still mud and sticks sticking up out of the water that prevented ships. So he used to bog ships down. Ken Wheeler said this in his video. The suspension of disbelief is it's colossal. He's asking you to believe that for 8,000 to 9,000 years, since the destruction of Atlantis in the Ice Age, because that's his dating, all the way to Plato's date when he was writing about it, there was still mud and sticks in the water that kept ships from coming up. That's Ken Wheeler's model. He said that in his video. And yet, we don't have any historical record of ships sailing over the Sahara to the Archaix structure. None. So, but that's a weak argument. That to me, that was just stupid, but it was a weak argument. So Plato wrote that the ocean at that spot has now become impassable and unsearchable, being blocked up by the shoal mud which the island created as it settled down. The island, not the interior of Africa, the Archaix structure, the island created the mud and the obstacles. Here's what a lot of people don't know. But during the Greek and Roman times, there was a place called the Sargasso Sea, and it was right outside the Pillars of Hercules. The Sargasso Sea is a place where ship captains all the way up to the 1600s used to report that they would get stuck in an area of seaweed and mud that was floating in the Atlantic. Like the Atlantic floor went up and down, which in Archaix we have documented that the seafloor in different areas around the world has gone up and down, and it hasn't changed the sea elevation one bit. So in the middle of the Atlantic was this huge area ships had to avoid, or they'd get stuck in it, but it's not there any longer. There are whole books published about the ships, the ship captain's logs that talk about the Sargasso Sea. Ignatius Donnelly in Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, spent a lot of time talking about the ship logs and the actual eyewitness accounts of the Sargasso Sea. Exactly where Plato said it was and described perfectly by Plato. Not the Archaix structure, but in the Atlantic, outside the Pillars of Hercules. So, Ken Wheeler's pushing the Archaix structure. That's okay. The location of the Archaix structure is in the Adrar region. It's in smack dab middle of the Adrar region of Mauritania, hundreds of kilometers inland from the Atlantic coast. It is not an island, and it has never been one. It is not in the Atlantic Ocean. So let's look at what geologists, because not even Randall Carlson, I believe Randall Carlson, I might be wrong, but I was under the impression that Randall Carlson had a background in geology. I might be wrong, but not even Randall Carlson, who I want to debate as well on the chronology of Atlantis, will agree, because he's totally against the idea of Atlantis being the Archaix structure. He and Jimmy Corsetti are not on the same page on that. What's interesting, though, is they are on the same page that Atlantis was 9,600 BC. They're not changing the Ice Age. They are not going to buck Graham Hancock. So, what geologists claim the Archaix structure is, I'm going to show you pictures. They claim, this is coming from the scientists who have studied the site. It is a deeply eroded geological dome, a subsurface alkaline igneous intrusion. So, like I told you, subsurface magma comes billowing up to the top. The Archaix was never an oceanic island. This is what geologists have confirmed. Geologists claim that the outer ring of the salt dome is Ordovician sandstone, which would place it, according to the uniformitarian model, 441 million years old. Yeah, it's definitely not Atlantis. And you know me, I don't give a damn about the uniformitarian model. I think it's all an error. But even that number is still impressively way before any type of Atlantis could be. Even if we narrowed that number down by a factor of 1,000, it's still way before Atlantis could be. So here's something that Jimmy Corsetti doesn't want you to know. Other collapsed domes are located in the Adrar region. They're just smaller than the Rishak. So it's the Rishat is the big one. You can see it really good from the sky. But geologists have found many more of them in the same region. They're just a lot smaller. That totally kills the Rishat structure as being Atlantis. Geologists also say that it was volcanic activity. There's volcanic rock there everywhere. This was not a civilization. As a matter of fact, it's a barren wasteland. That's what it is. Jimmy Spaghetti, that's right. So, what archaeologists have not found in the Adrar region of the Rishat structure, what they have not found, no artificial canals, harbors, ship docks, walls. There are no quarried blocks, metal plating, bridges, tunnels, no remains of an advanced civilization, no buildings, no temples, no harbors, no roads, no evidence of metallurgy, no pottery, no engineering. Archaeologists haven't found any of the evidence that would be there. So, what some of these guys do is they try to claim that a great flood washed it all away and there would be no evidence left. That's what they want you to believe. They want to build up a fantasy and then they want to destroy it, just like Aristotle said Plato did. Because Aristotle was the student of Plato. And when he was asked about Atlantis, Aristotle said, my master invented a civilization and then destroyed it. Yeah, man. Bet you didn't know that. Aristotle was not on board with Plato's Atlantis. Now, what archaeologists did find in the Adrar region now 100% completely eliminates the Rishat structure from any consideration of being Atlantis in 12,000 years ago or 34 or 32 centuries ago. Either chronological narrative is dismissed now. When we find out what archaeologists and anthropologists actually found on the surface of the Rishat structure in the Adrar region of Mauritania. Ken Wheeler didn't mention any of this. What archaeologists did find in the Adrar region? Abundant Acheulean, which is Lower Paleolithic, stone tools. Hundreds of thousands to over 1 million years old. Some Middle Stone Age artifacts, sparse Neolithic items, and later rock art, burial mounds. Lower and Middle Paleolithic activity, or 3 million to 300,000 years ago. Stone assemblages featuring bifaces, hand axes and scrapers, reflect ancient hominin populations utilizing ancient stream beds and outcrops for resource gathering. How could an advanced civilization been located in the Adrar region and then destroyed, and water took 100% of all the evidence of that civilization away? But on the top, on the surface, are tools and implements and camps, pictographs and cave art that antedate your advanced civilization, that are far older, but they're right there on the surface. How did that happen? The primitive continuance of culture is found in the Paleolithic to Neolithic sites and artifacts of the Adrar. petroglyphs and painted shelters, standing stones, tumuli. How did your imaginary flood that destroyed Atlantis at that location leave all these standing stones in place? Leave all these tumuli in place? Megalithic stone circles in place. It is a magical flood. It's amazing. Left these arrowheads, spear points, grinders, and decorated pottery fragments from the Neolithic. How is that possible? Somebody in the chat going to answer that one? Who hides the truth and why? I'm going to tell you in this video. I'm going to show you a chart that's going to open up your mind as to why the Ice Age is the culprit to all these shills. All of them networking together are on the same agenda. Get the general public to understand that when it comes to cataclysmic history and the world being destroyed, our data sets are all attached to the Ice Age, to the Younger Dryas. They need you to believe that, because as long as you believe that, you will miss 58 centuries of recorded mathematical data that points to 2 definitive dates that many of us are going to be alive for very soon. That's right. Left reed's poking up through the mud, Jason. Not at that location, it didn't. All right. George Alexander and Natalis Rosen are the 2 people that discovered the Rishat structure and theorized that it was Atlantis. Both of them visited the site. Oh, it was 2006, but they later dismissed it when they visited it. However, in 2018, Jimmy Corsetti picked up the story and got famous for grifting this. I'm telling you now. And anybody is welcome to counter this. Jimmy Corsetti is welcome to come on my channel. I will never deny him that. Billy Carson can come on my channel. Randall Carlson can come on my channel. But if these guys think I'm going to handle them with kid gloves, they've got me effed up. Totally effed up. I am one man against the many. Yeah, it's too late to be polite. Jimmy Corsetti can defend himself all he wants, but I'm telling you what I believe is true. Had not Jimmy Corsetti been invited on Joe Rogan to push this bullshit narrative of the Rishat structure, Jimmy Corsetti's name would be unknown today. He has no professional accomplishments. None. Yeah, you can take that to the bank. I know he's listening. Probably got pissed. I don't care. I don't care, man. Let's see. All right, we're done with that little file. Yeah, this isn't me talking out my ass. Let me show these documents. Ken Wheeler should have known all this. He should have looked up the Rishat structure. It is embarrassing that this man did that. Yeah, quit sending me emails and messages talking about Ken Wheeler's a genius. He's a prodigy. He's all that. You guys have blown this guy's ego up off the chart, because I didn't get that. In that 30-minute video that you guys sent me a link to about Atlantis, man, when I listened to that, I did not get that at all. I was really kind of sickened by it, that, oh shit, man, for the past 5.5, 6 years on YouTube, I've been thinking this guy was some type of prodigy, a polymath. Same thing you guys told me about David Edwards. Or was it David Edward Grant? Yeah, the same thing some of you guys told me about Jason Reza Jorjani. Yeah, that dude's still running from a debate too. Yeah, man, where are all these geniuses at? All these polymaths, all these guys that were professors in universities. Why are they scared of a guy with an 8th grade education? What is going on? I'm going to tell you what's going on. It's called networking. Yeah, they have an agenda. And that agenda is supporting a sacred cow. And that sacred cow is the Younger Dryas impact theory. They have to have the public continue to believe in this bullshit. All right, let's see here. Yeah, man. What? Yeah, you know what? There's an old saying: "Don't meet your heroes." Holy shit! When it comes to Ken, yeah, don't meet your heroes, because that dude, you're gonna leave feeling dirty and deflated. Like, damn, man. I should have looked into this guy a long time ago, because yeah, I was expecting intellect. I was expecting maturity. I was expecting professionalism. I got a 9th grade education with a bunch of misinformation. Yeah, out of his video, a 9th grader could have put that bullshit together. It's terrible. The Eye of Africa, the Journal of African Earth Sciences, scientific periodical here. Hydrothermal complex. Nothing about Atlantis here. There was no ancient civilization here at all. Noteworthy that all intrusive rocks are in the external part of the complex, whereas volcanic rocks are almost exclusively restricted to the central part. This strongly suggests a model of piston-like caldera collapse, preserving the central part from erosion. Oh, it is an eroded geological dome, 25 miles in diameter, exposing sedimentary rock in layers that appear as concentric rings. Igneous rock is exposed inside, and there are spectacular rhyolites and gabbros that have undergone hydrothermal alteration and a central megabreccia. Look, what they're not saying here is when it says that appears that igneous rocks is exposed inside and there are spectacular rhyolites, it's because the superheated magma from below was pushing up under high pressure, and it pushed up against granite because it's the only way you can make rhyolite. So the granite itself became superheated and molted, and it changed its crystalline structure. Once granite changes its crystalline structure, it becomes diorite and rhyolite. So this area is ancient, and it has to do with internal pressure. Atlantis didn't sink here and then a flood come wipe away all the evidence. This is just concentric salt domes from different times in history when internal pressure blew out right here and domed the area up. Then the dome would erode and collapse, leaving the rings. Then the next dome would come and it would be a different size. How do we know this? Because geologists have found other domes just like the Rishat structure spread throughout the plain of Adrar, right there in the Rishat structure region of Mauritania. Ken Wheeler should have known this. Just the existence of one other small dome totally does away with the Atlantis theory here. So dumb. It's just so dumb. I don't care if Ken, you say, listen, Boz PC said Ken defaults to personal attacks when confronted. That's what Graham Hancock's sidekick does. I don't fear personal attacks. What's that dude, man? Trash ass dude. I always want to call him Dan Rather. Dan Richards, debunking channel. That's all he does. Yeah, that's all he does. His little diminishing community of trolls. Yeah, they feed into that behavior. But Dan has nothing of value to offer at all. I invite Dan Richards to take all my Atlantis data and disprove it, but he won't. He won't. All he'll do is just resort to personal attacks. He's a troll. That's why he's going to fade away into obscurity. He ain't shit. Graham Hancock's right-hand man. Who knows? Hancock could have told him to even put that comment in there that he's willing to fuck my dead mother because he doesn't want to debate me. Yeah, he said that. Screenshot it for everybody to see. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Well, yeah, you think I worry about personal attacks? Believe me, I can deal with it. I'm dealing with the facts right now. So Ken Wheeler is invited to come on my channel, and he can go through all these facts with me, and I can pull out some files on Atlantis too that I'm not even talking about in this video, because we can hash it out. I don't care if we go 6 hours long, we can hash it out, because I am never worried about discoursing with another soul. As long as I'm able to get these data points out, I know I don't care about the person I'm talking with. I know the true value are the souls in the audience that are listening. They can discern fact from fiction. It doesn't matter if somebody tries to overtalk me, if they resort to personal attacks. None of that matters. As long as I stick with what I know to be true and I just continue to reveal the facts, people listening, they will leave that confrontation knowing, holy shit, Them dudes talk bad to Jason. Them dudes right there, man, were just arguing and talking about tangents and giving us word salads and all that. But every time Jason spoke, he dropped truth bombs and had them boys scattered and panicked. That's all I care about, because I know the people listening are going to separate fact from fiction. I don't have to come out looking like I had won any type of verbiage, any type of dialogue. I don't have to. I already know the end result will be beneficial to me. I know that. So this is just embarrassing. It's embarrassing that Ken Wheeler didn't do his homework and he just blindly accepted. Yeah, if you are a man of intelligence, if you are someone who prides yourself on the ability to think, why would you accept something to be true simply because all these people out here in the field say it's true, but they haven't shown it to you? That's what Ken Wheeler did. Ken Wheeler accepted something to be true facially on its surface, but he never looked at the substance of their claims. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Randall Carlson didn't fall for that bullshit. That's the Rishat structure there. And like I said, it's just one of them in the region. It just happens to be the big one. It just happens to be the big one. Let's go to the next one. I got some things to show you guys. So as we progress, I would like your feedback in the chat. Do you think Ken Wheeler's right that the Rishat structure is the true location of Atlantis? Say yes. If you don't think Ken Wheeler's right, then say no. If you think I made my point, the Rishat structure is not good, you need to say no. So in one of my previous videos, where I showed you guys over 30 Atlantis books that I have in my library. I have a whole shelf right here. Everybody who's visited my house, they have seen this shelf. The entire shelf is buried in nothing but books on Atlantis. And I've showed them on the screen, all these books. And I have some new ones that I haven't even finished reading yet. But in all these books, hold on. In all these old books, Atlantis is always depicted as an island. Thank you, Third Space. You need to come to Texas, man. I give you a hug. There's Atlantis in the center. Island. Atlantis is always an island. There's Atlantis in the center. Different artistic ways of showing it. That's the Pillars of Hercules right there. There's the Mediterranean. That's Pillars of Hercules. These are just cheap little conceptual maps from different authors and stuff. I'm just showing you the general. None of this is proof of anything. The proof is in Plato's narrative. He described it over 20 times as an island. And its destruction was it sank into the ocean. So, yeah, these little illustrations and maps don't prove anything. All they do is show different concepts. Here's a huge Atlantis in the middle of the Atlantic. I'm just showing you a bunch of these pictures from all these old books. It's not proof. The proof is like I said, the proof is in Plato's narrative. These are just artistic deals. So Ken Wheeler, I'm not going to practice exclusions. He brought something to the table that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to show it. Ken Wheeler mentions Pomponius Mela, and the Pomponius Mela map has the word Atlantis in northern Africa. So you're not going to catch me practicing exclusions. I'm about to bring this to your attention right now. Ken Wheeler should have known this too. Hold on, I'm sharing my screen. Epinephrine. I'm in war mode. Yeah. Anytime we're talking about Atlantis, anytime we're talking about the Shars, the Shar dating systems and all that, yeah, I'm in beast mode. Yeah, it's a war. I'm not looking for allies. I'm not looking for anybody to surrender. I am looking to expose bad information. And I'm cool. I'm cool with staying in war mode. I'm tired of trying to people trying to buddy up to me, and really try to guide my narrative and try to get me to soften, different stuff. No, man, we're running out of time. We are running out of time. You guys know what I'm talking about. So here is this is a conceptual map. See, all this is in English. This isn't the original Pompilius map. It's a copy, and then everything was in English. So Pompilius Mela didn't have a really good grasp of geography at all. The world was very small to him. The very fact that the word Atlantis is right here does not mean it's Atlantis at all. This is the outer Atlantic. This is the great vast body of water called the Water of Atlas. Atlas is what Atlantis was named after. The mountain ranges in Africa were also named after Atlas. Atlas was a titan. Atlantis is a nod toward the titan. This is not proof at all that Atlantis was in North Africa. It's just ridiculous. But I'm going to show you exactly why it is. This is Ken Wheeler's overwhelming evidence that Atlantis was in an old description by Pomponius Mela. So, if you're going to use Pomponius Mela as a source, don't do what Graham Hancock does. I've already exposed Graham Hancock in 3 different videos for cherry picking his ancient authors, telling you one thing they said, but strategically omitting very detailed, specific information those same authors said on how to calculate Egyptian years, how to calculate different time periods. Graham Hancock has he cherry picks bad. And I've exposed him for it. And that's why that man will never debate me, because I will publicly embarrass him when I show his own bibliographies on a screen to the public. Because, man, it's not a mistake. It's a lie. These are lies, not mistakes. Now, here is. I got to show you this screen because he quoted Pomponius Mela. So we need to see what Pomponius Mela actually said. Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. It's crazy I even got to do this video. Ken Wheeler has absolutely no business whatsoever doing any type of chronological videos at all. And if he was a man of integrity, he would review this evidence and actually say publicly, damn, dude, yeah, man, I ain't never had anybody correct me like this. This right here is very compelling. Yeah. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with having the right facts. That's all it is. The right facts. Yeah, if any of these people were people of integrity, they would come to the table and say, holy shit, dude. I didn't want to admit it, man, but yeah, you're right. This is an unbreakable data set. Yeah, man, it's crazy. So anyway, let's go with so Ken Wheeler makes a big deal about Pomponius Mela putting Atlantis in North Africa. But Pomponius was in the 1st century AD, over 1,200 years after the destruction of the real Atlantis. He wasn't even Greek. He was a Roman. Now, he also wrote that the Nile River is not from the mountains of Africa, but actually from an underworld tunnel from a continent on the other side of the world. Pomponius Mela also said that the Caspian Sea is the entry to a vast northern ocean, but that's not true. The Caspian is a closed sea. He also wrote that deep in Africa lived a race of headless people whose faces were on their chests. What did he say about Africa? Well, what else did he say about Africa? That the Atlantic coast of Africa was called Atlantides. What else did he say? He wrote of the existence of satyrs and goat pans and werewolves and islands full of gorgons. This is Ken Wheeler's source, Pomponius Mela. So, why not cite Greek scholars like Eudoxus, who lived during Plato's time and corrected Plato on the 9,000 years being 9,000 months? How did you miss that? How did you miss that? You didn't have to go 700 years into the future from Plato or from whenever 500 years into the future. You could have went to just the scholars that were living in Plato's day who corrected Plato that it was not 9,000 years. It was 9,000 months. Lunar Sace reckoning. This is epic cherry picking. It's epic. Yeah, it's like Graham Hancock citing Diodorus Siculus that the Egyptians claimed that the beginning of their civilization was 23,000 years ago. Graham Hancock wrote that, and you know what? Graham Hancock is telling the absolute truth. But where the lie comes in is Diodorus Siculus continues and says, and the Egyptians count a year as 30 days. Graham Hancock didn't tell you that. Not only did he omit it, but Graham Hancock then lies to you in a bibliographic citation and literally says there is no evidence that the Egyptians ever counted a year as 30 days or switched out months for years. Why would you include that in your bibliography? Why would you assert as fact a negative? Somebody's not playing fair here. Why would you ever assert as fact something no one would have ever taken into consideration anyway if it wasn't true? Yeah, Diodorus Siculus said it. Macrobius said it. Strabo said it. Herodotus said it. I have a whole list of people who all said the Egyptians count a year as 30 days. Eudoxus of Cnidos said it too. How did Ken Wheeler not know this? Yeah, man. How? I don't know why these people keep trying me on this chronological material, especially this Atlantis stuff. I don't know why. Sometimes I think it's an experiment. I think they keep throwing these dullards at me, trying to think, man, maybe we'll get Jason to trip up somehow. No, man, all you're doing is sharpening my sword. That's all you're doing. Yeah, man. So that's crazy. That's Pomponius Mela. That's Ken Wheeler's source. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So there are many. We're going to go through these real fast because I've got too many prior videos that talk about all this. I am not going to spend time here. I'm not going to bore my Archaix veterans with stuff that we've already covered ad nauseum. So I'm just going to tell you right now, scholarship in the past 300 years have all, this is 1722, they have already determined that Atlantis was 9,000 moons. They have already determined the computation of days for years and months for years among the Egyptians of ancient writers, corrects all the misinformation out in the field. Graham Hancock has read this material, so has Randall Carlson. All these people that are promoting this bullshit, Younger Dryas, they know this data. They're not making mistakes anymore. You are being deliberately lied to. What adds to the lie is the uniform phenomenon across the board that none of these people that I call out acknowledge the existence of Archaix. or ever cite this data. That shows you that they are all working in concert. There is an agenda here. Yeah, man, this is big. This is big, guys. And I told you, we only got 14 more years, man. This is too late to be polite. All these old books, this is long livers. This is a totally different book. This is long livers, same thing. The Egyptians counted a year as 30 days. The Egyptians counted a year as 30 days. Over and over and over from the libraries of antiquity. This is John Jackson, who was a chronologist in the 1700s. This is dated 1752. In this book, he said all the impossible Berosus dates, Babylonian, Sumerian, and Vedic were not years, they were days. And when you factor them as days, everything fits in the historical record perfectly, as I've shown. They show this with the Egyptians. I'm going to show you charts of Egyptian chronology. Every bit of it fits perfectly in the 58 years of the human recorded historical record. When you use the lunar count, the Sace reckoning lunar system and the Shar day count system as they are meant to be applied, everything fits perfectly. That's what all these references are. All these old books. This is what they talk about. Yeah. And my detractors and all the people that want to hate on me, Archaix gets his shit out of old books. Who said them old books had the right shit in there? Listen, all you got to do is look at it yourself. Look at it yourself. All these old citations, they correct all the chronology. Ken Wheeler should have known this. Here's another chronologist right here. Here's from the year 1740. Universal History. This book is 1,147 pages of ancient chronological material. I got 2 videos on this book. Here's what they're asking you to believe. They're asking you to believe that the 9,000 years of Solon concerning Atlantis goes way back here to the Younger Dryas. Damn it. This is what they're asking. They're asking you to go way back here. But that's what this big circle is. This big circle is 6,800 years of no history, no written records, no traditions, nothing. Nothing. No ancient authors, no ancient chronologies, no historical records, and a total blank in anthropology. Nothing here. But here, in the small circle, going back to about 2815 BC, we got Sumer, Egypt, Babylonia, Harappa, China, the Andean civilizations. We got all that. And if you use the Egyptian Sace reckoning of 30 days to a year, then 9,000 years becomes 9,000 months. And 9,000 months is 750 years. So Atlantis was destroyed 750 years before Solon. That puts it right here. And that's where the historical record has something happening that is so parallel to Plato's account, we cannot ignore it. Because something was going on in the Mediterranean at that exact time. Fleets were coming from the west. Some people believe they were coming from the Atlantic, but fleets were coming from the west. They are so mysterious that historians only call them the Sea Peoples Federation. We'll get to that in a minute. Again, here's more chronological material showing that in many ancient texts, months were years. Real quick, we'll get through this. This is where Ken should have known this. Ken should have known this. He's supposed to translate Greek. He's supposed to know about all these old writers. Well, here's Manetho of Egypt. Here is Eudoxus. Here is Diodorus Siculus. Here's Plutarch. Here's Eusebius. Here's Herodotus, Lactantius, and Macrobius. You know what they all said? They all said right here, the year I take, however, to be a lunar one consisting of 30 days. The Egyptians reckon a month as a year. It was customary to reckon the year by the lunar cycle. The Egyptian year was 1 month. Look at that. Look at that. Over and over and over. But Graham Hancock, in his book, Fingerprints of the Gods, said There is absolutely no evidence that the ancient Egyptians ever confused years and months or styled one or the other. Here are 8 ancient authors dated from 1600 years ago to 25 centuries ago that said otherwise. Do you think that the ever learned and collegiate Graham Hancock didn't know these references existed? If he didn't know they existed, then why did he even make that quote? Why even put it in your book? Why try to prove a negative? If something isn't true, why assert the opposite? If the whole world doesn't know that any of this data exists or could be found, why even call attention to it? The reason is because he needed to call attention to it because of the bullshit theory of the Younger Dryas that he was trying to push in Fingerprints of the Gods. Absolutely. And Ken Wheeler, I didn't even know he delved into these type of topics. It's like, man, you should have known this, man. You should have known all this. The priests of Neath at Sais, who related Atlantis' story, only employed a lunar calendar. Eudoxus of Cnidos, Lactantius, Plutarch, Macrobius, Eusebius, and many others all knew the ancient Egyptians reckoned a month as a year. You can't get past these facts. That changes the 9,000 years of Atlantis to 9,000 months. Puts it in the Sea Peoples Federation invasions. The war of the Sea Peoples against Egypt and Athens. It's exactly what Plato's narrative is about. Even old scholarship 700 years ago knew that it wasn't 9,000 years. How did Ken Wheeler not know about scholarship even centuries ago who already determined that the 9,000 years of Solon was actually 9,000 moons? How? Thomas Bradderween in 1340, Robert Argod, Pierre Diale, 1572, Pedro Sarmiento Galboa, 1577 AD, Augustine Zarate, 1721, Eugenius Philolethes, Sir Isaac Newton, John Jackson. We already talked about John Jackson. Yeah, man. I'm going through this real fast because we've already talked about all this stuff. And I'm not trying to bore my veterans. We got some other stuff that Ken said that we need to take into consideration. We're getting to Tenet. He said the Atlanteans called themselves the Tenet. You need to remember that because I just told you and showed you where Atlantis truly fits in the historical record because it did exist. It was a real place. And Plato merely wrote a narrative about a civilization that sent its fleets into the Mediterranean and they attacked. And there are date monikers. There are time. Listen, a story has timestamps. Most people don't know this, but a story from the ancient world will always have some type of timestamps in there. Let me show you how a chronologist reviews a narrative. Because the subject matter of the narrative itself will often date almost precisely what's being conveyed. This is how a chronologist dates Plato's Critias and Timaeus. It's so easy. Everything that is mentioned as factual in the narrative of Plato about Atlantis, you write down on a piece of paper. You write down all these subjects. And then you go to work and you find out when these subjects are found in the historical record. Then you build a chart and you have all these timelines. And when every single one of those subjects in the narrative meets a threshold point, that's your dating from when those events unfolded. I'm going to show you how to do it. I did a chart. It's a new chart you guys have never seen before. But you can thank Ken Wheeler for this because he inspired me to do this chart. Now, let me get this. So I'm gonna share my screen because I want you to see the information. And if Ken Wheeler wants to provide an answer to this video, I want him to see this data. Let me There we go. All right. So these items are mentioned in Plato's accounts of Atlantis and provide us date markers for the story. The Atlantis narrative mentions the use of cavalry, and historians know that in the Mediterranean, the use of cavalry was introduced in the Bronze Age and was in use in 1200 BC. This comes from the scholar Jorjani Spanoth. Atlantis researcher Leo Frobentius wrote that the Atlantis story happened during Poseidon worship in the 13th century BC. Poseidon worship is traced back to pre-Greek times among the Mycenaean maritime culture and possibly, though not verified by archaeology, to the late Minoan period of 1700 BC. So, Archaix veterans, you see evidence right here that Poseidon worship did not enter the Mediterranean until when? The Ogygian deluge, the Ogygian destruction in the month of May, 1687 BC. Athens, in all traditions, was founded by Cecrops in the 14th century BC, who came by ship from Egypt. Why is this necessary? Why is it necessary in chronology to mention the city of Athens as being a participant in the story of Atlantis? Why? Because the city of Athens and the Greeks did not exist in the Ice Age. It is the dumbest position to take, and Ken Wheeler should have known that. Ken Wheeler should be embarrassed that he even entertained such a stupid notion. The entire story is about the war against Athens. Athens didn't come into existence until the 1400s. Or the 1365. To be precise, it was about 1365 BC that Athens was founded. Plato's account mentions the Libyans, and this is a giveaway as to the 9600 BC date being in error. The Libyans first appear in Egyptian records at Merneptah in 1227 BC. Do you see how precise that is? Libya was unknown in the historical record until the Egyptians first mentioned Libya in 1227 BC. But it's in the Atlantis account. Now, Olaf Rudbeck in 1700 AD first mentioned that in dating Atlantis, one would need to consider that Plato describes the use of iron by the Atlanteans. This forces a date. The use of iron forces a date 7,000 years after 9600 BC, Younger Dryas dating. It forces a date way after that to about 2000 to 1500 BC for the earliest appearance of iron utensils. So, Plato's orichalcum was a brass alloy, something rarer than the more primitive copper and bronze metals developed from 2500 to 1500 BC. This metal dates to the period 1500 to 700 BC. The earliest examples of high quality brass in the archaeological record date to 1500 to 700 BC. And yet, high quality brass, even Ken Wheeler agrees that orichalcum was high quality brass. And the first time it appears in the archaeological record is 1500 BC to 700, not the Ice Age. Why are you dating Atlantis to the Ice Age? So, okay, Eberhard Zanger in The Flood from Heaven, Deciphering the Atlantis Legend, wrote that the idea of individual states of Greece, a united Greek army, citadels, bronze weapons, chariots, a large navy, shipyards, and horse race tracks assumes a level of achievement that to be dated 10,000 BC is absurd. But it does correspond to the last centuries of the Bronze Age in 1400 to 1150 BC, and to no other time in Mediterranean prehistory. How are these guys making these mistakes? I'm telling you now, they're not. They're not. Somebody behind the scenes is networking all these people I call out. And the evidence to me is that none of them will mention the Archaix research. Yeah, none of them. There is a massive, concerted effort to suppress the truth when it comes to cycles of earth destruction. Whoever's pulling the strings, whoever's financing, whoever's networking all these people together, whoever's giving them a blanket command to do not at all ever reference Jason of Archaix. Whoever's doing all this, they have a vested interest in you not discovering the true destructive reset cycles of our world. Because that's all Archaix is about. That's all it's about. So, oh yeah, listen, it is mathematically improbable for so many of these people to just completely, absolutely stay stone face. Not only do they not acknowledge that they have been dismantled, but they won't acknowledge me. They won't acknowledge the Archaix research, draw attention to it. That is perfect evidence of concerted effort. Yeah, that's people following orders. You understand? That's what that is. Yeah, that's not natural. It's mathematically improbable that people that you call out and correct, every single one of them don't have the maturity to actually come to the table and admit when they're wrong about something. All these people, well, now we have to start tearing apart the rest of the things they're trying to tell the communities. If you've been caught playing deceitful and you won't even admit that you've been caught, well, you're in it for the money. You're not in it to tell the public anything truthful. You're not honest at all. You're in it for the money. Yeah, because a true individual who has shown overwhelming evidence that they are wrong would completely embrace that information because they would save face with the public. Like, damn man, he came on Jason's channel and it admitted on Jason's channel that, yeah, man, you really caught me blindsided with this data here. I had no idea that this level of data was available. That totally overturns this narrative. It's never happened because somebody's not letting it happen. Now, according to astronomers Victor Klube and Bill Napier in The Cosmic Serpent, the drowning of Atlantis seems to relate to events observed in the sky at or about 1200 BC. Absolutely true. You've seen Archaix 4.0 on the fall of Atlantis. Yeah, 1135 BC. It was 92 years after the Sea Peoples Federation, in the last Sea Peoples Federation invasion. Even Plato said the destruction of Atlantis came after the war. Immanuel Velikovsky wrote that the cataclysm that ended Atlantis was about 1200 BC, and it destroyed the Greeks as well. Absolutely. It entered what we in Archaix know to be true. And other scholars, other researchers that have published books about it. It's called the Great Mediterranean Dark Age, and it lasted 300 years. In Atlantis, the truth behind the legend, Gallinopoulos and Edward Bacon concluded, we accept that Plato's story is history rather than fiction or parable. We show that on internal evidence, the events of this story must have taken place in the Bronze Age between 2100 and 1200 BC. Now, these are other items found in Plato's narrative that you cannot ignore. A chronologist must take these into consideration to date the story of Plato's narrative. Egyptians witnessed the Atlantean War. Egypt founded circa 3000 BC. Egypt didn't exist in the Younger Dryas. So how could Atlantis be fighting a war that the Egyptians are observing if there was no Egypt 9,600 BC. How's that? How's that? How did Ken Wheeler not catch that? Horse domestication, 3,000 BC at earliest. Vast canal works, 3,000 BC at earliest. Tin mining, 3,000 BC at the earliest. Gold mining and gold statuary, 4,000 to 3,000 BC at the earliest. Cropping the land twice yearly. And this is in agriculture. Cropping the land twice yearly. This increased the ability of a civilization to increase their population. Cropping the land twice yearly first began at 3,000 BC at the earliest. This series of a dozen historical facts absolutely narrows down the date for the Atlantis War against Athens to 1300 to 1200 BC. These 11 facts completely collapse the Atlantis was Younger Dryas dating of 12,000 years ago, and therefore also do away with the Rishat structure as being Atlantis. Oh, but we are not done. We are not done. I have a new chart to show you, but first I'm going to show you. I got about six charts to show you before that. The new chart is badass. And then we're going to move over to his claim that the Atlanteans called themselves Tenet, because that right there is amazing when you look at what Tenet was in the ancient world and how it completely overturns Ken Wheeler's premise and confirms the Archaix model. It's beautiful. He should have never said that. It opened up a whole new avenue of research for me. I went deep on Tenet. I couldn't believe what I found. Yeah, man. Thank you, Ken Wheeler. All right. Now, so this chart has a lot to unpack. It has a lot. We're not going to get into it. I'm just showing you. There are 3 separate data sets here that prove Atlantis could not have been in the Younger Dryas period. The first data set is right here. Where is this? Right here. I don't know. Yeah, you can see it. This box. I don't know what color that is. This box here, it says data set number 1. These are all the earliest inception dates for items mentioned in Plato's narrative. These are all the items I just mentioned. All the earliest inception dates completely disqualify the Younger Dryas. Here's data set number 2. It's the yellow box. Data set number 2 is a comparative civilization inception points. This is Sumer, Harappa, Akkad, Minoan, Babylonia, Assyria, Hittites, China, Mitanni, Andean, Aryan, Vedic. Here are the dates. But Atlantis was before them all. But Egypt and Libya and Athens all exist. It's just so dumb. So dumb. The third data set is the black box at the bottom. This is data set number 3. The only link to 9600 BC dating Atlantis is from a mistake by the Greeks, not realizing that 9,000 years before Solon was a reference to lunar periods of 30 days, which corrects everything. When you correct it by using the Egyptian Sais lunar reckoning, it puts the Atlantis narrative smack dab middle in the middle of the sea people's invasions of the Mediterranean. That's what it does. What's the Atlantis story about? Sea peoples invading from the west. That's what it's about. So that's this chart. So this is a totally different scenario here from Solon's 9,000 years. The Egyptians claim like in the Turin Papyrus, Egyptian history totaled 36,620 years. But when you go by Egyptian reckoning, that 36,620 years is only 3,051 years, putting Egyptian history exactly where archaeologists and Egyptologists put it. You see this yellow circle? The white circle is where Graham Hancock and this whole shill network want you to believe that all this was way back here in time, 36,000 BC. That's what they want you to believe. But no, All these Greek writers from Eudoxus all the way to the present were telling us that when you see these impossible numbers here, these aren't years, they're months. And they have to be factored that way. The Turin Papyrus is telling you the truth. Yeah, it's telling you the truth. The Turin Papyrus is Egyptian and must be calculated by the lunar system, mentioned by so many ancient writers. Here they are: Manetho, Diodorus, Eusebius, Eudoxus, Plutarch, Lactantius, Marcus Varro, Macrobius, and these aren't all of them. Same thing here. Citing Diodorus Siculus, Hancock wrote that the period of Egyptian history was 23,100 years, citing Diodorus Siculus. But he doesn't tell you that Diodorus Siculus also tells you that you've got to factor that as 30 days a year. And when you do, it puts the start of Egypt exactly where Egyptologists and historians do. Everything fits perfectly when you use the factoring system used by the ancients. Here's another chart. Hancock, citing both Manetho and Eusebius, wrote that the period of Egyptian history was 24,925 years. They are correct, but he didn't cite what Eusebius said about that number. Eusebius correctly informed his readers that the Egyptian lunar year was a period of 30 days. How do you get away with lying like this and then not defending yourself about it? I don't get it. This is why I'm telling you it's concerted. This is why I'm telling you there's a lot more going on. Yeah, Archaix is known worldwide now. You don't get 16.2 million watch hours and everybody doesn't know you now. Yeah, this silence is going to be more and more deafening as I now start looking at other parts of their research and start dismantling it too. The only reason we're talking about Atlantis again is because Ken Wheeler. I had plans on doing something else, but we'll get to that. So these charts are fantastic because they show you that even ancient texts went by this 30 days a year scenario. Here is Egypt. Here's Egypt, Harappa, Sumer, Pumapunkan, China. Here are all the standard civilizations. Then there was a reset called the Great Flood or the Typhon Flood. And then look, after that, Babylonia, Elam, the Hittites, Tiahuanaco. This right here was a reset period in between them. What Hancock and Ken Wheeler and everybody wants you to believe is the yellow circle, that Atlantis was way back here at 9,600 BC, and that the 9,000 years of Solon were real solar years and not lunar years, which is the whole premise is dumb. That's the yellow circle. That's what they want you to believe. But it's 6,600 years before Egypt even began. Egypt didn't exist. Athens didn't exist. Gold mining, none of that stuff. Everything that we listed did not exist. Just dumb. Here's the new chart. Here is the new chart you guys have never seen before. 16 historical and datable elements of Plato's Atlantis narrative prove the War of Atlantis was 13th century BC. This yellow oblong right here, this represents the only time in history where every element of Plato's Atlantis narrative could have occurred. This little yellow area right here, this is the only time in history right here. It's the only time in history that every element of Plato's Atlantis narrative could have occurred. And that is gold mining. You see where it says gold? Follow me here. This is gold mining. That's the earliest archaeology has ever been able to determine gold mining. This black box at the bottom. This is the human historical record. 26 dynasties of Egypt, Sumerian culture, Akkad, Babylonia, Assyria, Minoan, Harappa, Vedic Aryan, Andean, Hittite, China, Mitannian, all right here in this black. Continued different civilizations, all right here. And it's during this period that we have gold mining. We have Egypt begins, canal works begin, tin mining, citadels, fortresses begin construction, cropping land twice yearly begins, cavalry and horse races. Then we have shipyards and fleets, Poseidon worship, iron mining, brass work, chariots. Libya comes into existence. Athens, 1400 BC, comes into existence. Zeus worship right here, because Zeus is a part of the Atlantean narrative as well. Zeus worship begins 1300 BC. Now, the yellow represents every element in Plato's narrative, but look at this, because the historical record shows us something additionally. The first black box, you see these lines that go over here to the yellow? This is where historians put the Sea People's invasions, 1270, 1276 to 1178 BC. Very specific. There are many books and articles about the Sea People's invasions. Look where it puts them, right there in the yellow. Then we find out in Plato's narrative that when the war with Athens was over and the Sea Peoples were invading no more, well, the Atlanteans were invading no more, a small period of time passed, and then there was an epic destruction. Atlantis as an island sank in a day and a night and was no more. And even the Greeks were reset, but they survived. We know that as 1135. It was on the 552-year Phoenix cycle. I have many videos about this event. This was the fall of Atlantis, 1135 BC, caused by the Phoenix, the Typhon. Here's where, look where it puts it. Cataclysm and Great Mediterranean Dark Age. Scholars put, Jason didn't do this, scholarship dates the Great Mediterranean Dark Age at 1177 to 1135 BC as the beginning, and it lasted 300 years. This chart here puts it all together. I'll post this chart on X and on YouTube in the community as soon as this video is over with. But we're not done, because Ken said something else that we need to address. Sure did. Should have never said this. Now we're moving on. His claim that the Egyptians themselves never, I mean, not the Egyptians, but the Atlanteans were never called the Atlanteans. They knew themselves as the tenant or tenet. Cool. So let's see what he was talking about. Here it is. Matter of fact, let's read it together. Let's read it together. We need to make sure Ken can see this, because I know he's watching. All right. Ken claims that Atlantis comes from the word tenet 3 times in his little 28-minute video, or that Atlantis was actually called tenet. So this designation of TNT, but written out variously as tenet, and tenet, the vowels were inserted for pronunciation, but the text has TNT. And he knows this as well. He even mentioned that about the vowels being inserted. But this is how almost all ancient documents were. They're all consonants, and the vowels are interchangeable from culture to culture. So the designation, I already got that. So Ken further associated tenet to the Egyptian Neith and the Greek Athena. I'm gonna tell you that that's correct. Neith, as the oldest, dates to 3400 BC, the Naqada II period of ancient Egypt. Do you see the problem here? Scholarship has dated Neith, the ancient Egyptian goddess Neith, from which came Athena and Tanit. Neith is the oldest, and she only dates to 3400 BC. Not the Ice Age, not the Younger Dryas, not going back all that time. She dates to 3400 BC at the oldest, the Naqada II period of ancient Egypt. That's a problem. So no such goddess or name can be traced back to 9600 BC. Ken claiming that Atlantis was called Tanit not only disproves his 2 claims that Atlantis was 9600 BC and was located at the Rishat structure, but his associating Tanit to Atlantis is a direct connection to both the Sea People's invasion of the 13th century BC and the Azores, where many Atlantis researchers claim the lost civilization was formerly located. Guys, I'm not going to lie, I can be vain too. And I chuckled when I found this out about Tanit, because Ken Wheeler, in all his erudition, told his community that it was comical. Like, he laughed it off like they're just so dumb talking about Atlantis in the Azores. Yeah, it was so, dude, it was just dripping with narcissism. But his whole presentation, so I found it comical that he would say that, nah, man, Atlantis wasn't in the Azores. They don't know what they're talking about and all that. It goes to presenting it as in the Rishat structure being Atlantis. But he said that the Atlanteans called themselves the Tanit. That's beautiful, because Tanit is directly connected to the Azores, as I'll show you. He should have known this. So I'm going to show these screenshots now. All right. I'm so slow at changing these screenshots out. Okay, here we go. So, Mr. Wheeler should have done his homework. You cannot say that Atlantis dates to the Ice Age and also claim that the Atlanteans referred to themselves as the Tanit. You can't say that, man. So Tanit is the chief goddess of Carthage. Why is it a problem? The Carthaginians were descendants of the Phoenicians. Where did the Phoenicians come from? We'll get to that in a minute. Tanit did not appear at Carthage before the 5th century BC. 5th century BC is when Tanit arrived at Carthage. Carthage is North Africa. So, a Punic coin featuring Tanit, minted in Punic Carthage between 330 and 300 BC. Tanit was worshipped in Punic contexts in the Western Mediterranean, in Sicily, Malta, North Africa, in Gades, that's Spain, and many other places into Hellenistic times. That's not the Ice Age. That's right after the days of Plato. Punic is Phoenician. Tanit's worship might have originated in relation to the Phoenician deity Astarte, Ishtar, whose own worship is first dated in the Phoenician sites of Sidon and Tyre. When were the cities of Sidon and Tyre founded? Who occupied them? The Phoenicians did. When did the Phoenicians get there? At the Sea People's Federation invasions. This is all widely known. Tanit or Tinit, Punic, here it is right here, was a chief deity of ancient Carthage. Carthage descended from the Phoenicians. It is known. It's not even a matter of controversy. The Carthaginians were a colony of the Phoenician cities of Tyre and Sidon. It's not even up for debate. It's not even up for debate. Tanit, also as Tinit, whom the Egyptians identify as Neith and the Greeks identify as Athena. This is exactly who Ken Wheeler was talking about, because this is what he said. Here it is. This is Neith. This is Athena. It is Tanit. So we're talking about a Phoenician deity introduced into the Mediterranean, not in the Ice Age, but during the Sea People's Federation. Tanit was worshipped in Punic context in the Western Mediterranean, in North Africa, Sicily, Malta, and Gades. We already got that. Archaeologists, listen to this. Archaeologists have recently also uncovered temples of Tanit dating back to the 4th century BC in the where? Where are the temples of Tanit? Did Ken Wheeler say the Atlanteans called themselves the Tanit? Where did the Atlanteans come from? Not the Ice Age. They came from the Azores. Azores Islands. 4 temples of Tanits have been found. He should have done his homework before he said that. Oops. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how I popped that. So, after the Sea Peoples Federations, a new city popped up in Egypt called Tanis. A new city appeared during the Sea Peoples Federation, or right after the Sea Peoples Federation invasions, called Tanis, Lower Egypt, about 1075 BC. Right there. The Egyptians made Tanis their capital. We know from the Egyptian records at Medinet Habu that many of the people of the Sea Peoples were taken into Egyptian custody, because when the Sea Peoples invaded, a lot of their fleets had their families with them. And this is the symbol of Tanit. This is the symbol of Tanit, and Ken Wheeler wants you to think that this symbol goes back to the Ice Age, that Egypt goes back to the Ice Age, that the Atlanteans called Tanit go back to the Ice Age. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. This symbol right here can be traced to the 5th century BC and no earlier. Symbol of the goddess Tanit. Now, yeah, that's damning. It's damning. So, because the Sea Peoples Federation came from all these areas, they're all named. That are all island chains, and all the stuff in the Mediterranean towards Sardinia, Spain, Cadiz, which is Spain, yeah, around Gibraltar, they came from the Atlantic. At the time, the Azores were much bigger. As soon as the Sea Peoples Federation War was over, it was over with and all that, we have 2 new cultures in the Mediterranean that suddenly appeared who were a part of the Sea Peoples Federation, and they built their own civilizations and they became mighty, unopposed. They are the Philistines and the Phoenicians. Both of them just suddenly appeared right after the Sea Peoples Federation invasions, both of them occupying the Levant area. The Rishat structure is 1,900 miles by sea to Athens. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but there are no naval invasions in the history of the world that covered that distance until 300 years ago. So this would be the Spanish Armada, went all the way to England, then got trapped on the coast of Scotland and Wales by a storm. So they went that far, but they never made it home. But that was in the last 300 years, not 3,300 years ago. So the Rishat structure absolutely requires the Younger Dryas impact to be true. You can't add one unknown to another unknown and then claim that you know something. It's ridiculous. So Ken's video is an absolute epic fail. He said Atlantis is the Eye of Sahara, the Rishat structure. Not true. Plato never really conveyed that Atlantis was an island. Really not true. Atlantis was 12,000 years ago. Absolutely untrue. Atlantis comes from the word Tanit. Not true at all. The Egyptians were, and Tanit is a reference to the Sea Peoples. So in an inadvertent way, yes, it is a reference to the Atlanteans. We can actually say Ken Wheeler's right. But in being right, it takes Atlantis away from the Ice Age and puts it right where it's supposed to be in the 13th century BC. So we can give Ken Wheeler a win. You're right, Ken Wheeler. Yeah, man, you're right. The Atlanteans did refer themselves as the tenant. But that overturned what you said when you laughed at those guys for claiming that Atlantis was in the Azores. Well, right here, we got 4 temples of Tenet in the Azores. Go figure. And then 5, the Egyptians were descendants of the Atlanteans. Yeah, how do you even process something like that? How do you even process that one? The Egyptians cannot be the descendants of the Atlanteans if the Egyptians were already an ancient civilization and they were observing the Atlanteans fighting against the Athenians. Yeah. So where Ken Wheeler got the idea that the Egyptian civilization is descended from the Atlanteans, he got that idea from Helena Blavatsky, the Theosophical Society, the later Golden Dawn, Anne Besant, Rudolf Steiner, that whole clique, Edgar Casey. That's where he got the idea. Because none of that's historical. That's all mystical bullshit. That was all invented in the last 200 years. It has nothing to do with Plato's narrative at all. At all. I'll share my screen. Oh, we're not done? Oh, I'm not letting you go. Yeah, we are not done. So here's 6 videos. Yeah, here's 6 videos right here on my channel where I go even deeper on all these little things. This right here was not a deep overview, guys. I got some really in-depth material in some of the. Here's a total dismantling of Hancock's 9600 BC Atlantis dating. Here's Atlantis Has Fallen, Archaix 4.0, Pharaoh Segnocti and the Great Mediterranean Destruction. Here's Jimmy Corsetti and the Disinformation Network. Are these men paid to lie to you? Yeah, there's many things I did not mention in this video concerning these topics. Here's Silence of the Atlanteans. Get to see these faces. Look at these faces. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you. I got better pictures of these faces. The Platonic grift to humanity. There's no way in hell all these people haven't heard of Archaix. Yeah. There's no way that my emails went to their spam files. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. That's this video. Archaix dismantles Theoria Apophasis. Atlantis claims. Yeah, he's got no business talking about Atlantis. Bright Insight promotes a dark lie. Jimmy Corsetti, the Rishat structure, and ignoring facts to promote fictions. Look at that guy. He's so proud of himself. He's so proud of himself. Look at him. So cute. Yeah, man. He hit the lottery. He hit the lottery. He found a grift and got famous for it because he's provided no other value. And now it's been totally disproven, but he's still in the field doing shit. Why are people listening to this clown? Why? Unraveling Atlantis, Ghosts of Poseidon. Yeah, man, why? So here's a file I've been wanting to show you. Yeah, man. Look at this file. So I'm going to show you some new names. I told you I was going to give y'all some names today. I'm going to show you some new people. Because they need listen, I'm a one-man op. I'm just telling you. I'm up against giants in their fields. I'm up against a whole bunch, and these giants are all networked together. And they've got a blanket policy where they can't mention me. They can't draw any attention to the Archaix research guy. This is real. I am not imagining any of this. This is real. So let me share my screen here. Yeah, get to know these faces. Get to know these faces. So it remains to be seen if this guy is in this clique. It remains to be seen. We're going to find out by his reaction. Yeah, he wants to come on my channel and debate this Archaix shit. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Got a whole lot more. I got a lot more irons in the fire. But if he's willing to assess this data and say, damn, man, I really didn't know what I was talking about. I thought I did, man. You're right. You know, that's going to show a very unique character. We'll figure out. I don't know if he's in this clique or not. I don't know. But I'll tell you what. Let's see. I don't know how the hell did I get there? How did that happen? There we go. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Get to know this guy here. Right here. You know who this is. I believe his name is Greg Braden or something. Get to know him. He also has pushed younger Dryas impact theory. I believe he has a background in something scientific or geology. I don't know, man. I don't know. His spiritual material, like law of attraction and things like that, is probably pretty good. I don't have much overlay with this guy at all. I don't have anything personally against him, but he has specifically adopted the Atlantis 12,000 BC dating, and I don't know if he's in the ancient aliens cult or not. I have no idea. Man. But I do know this: dude's huge in the field. Never once mentioned Jason of Archaix. Really interesting. Yeah, you already know who these are. You already know who all three of these. We got 2 Dunning-Krugers and a barf parrot right here. So you already know who these guys are. Randall Carlson, Joe Rogan, Graham Hancock. These 2 right here. You got dark journalist, and you got this beauty here. You know who she is, Gigi Young. Dark journalist right here, who acts like he's got a crush on Gigi Young, and I don't blame him. I do not blame him at all. But they also push this weird Atlantis narrative that has nothing to do with the historical record at all. Jimmy Corsetti. Man, that song is so badass. There he is again. You know who this is? Strapping young fellow. That's William Tyrone Carlson. You guys know who he is. Yeah, man. This dude here, he's a phenomenon. This is 140. We will always respect him for being 140. Yeah, man. You guys know. This is Matt LaCroix, whatever his name is. Yeah, he's an ancient aliens enthusiast. He pushes Atlantis 9600 BC. He is 100% in this narrative network. Absolutely. Hook, line, and sinker. Man has never mentioned Archaix or Jason anywhere in his, just like all the other ones haven't. None of them have. This is a pointless troll. You already know who he is. Pretty soon he'll be off the chart. His community is dying. He has nothing of value to offer in the field. He's just a pointless troll. There's a barf parrot and a Dunning-Kruger. Oh, look at this. They are circling their wagons. You're seeing a lot of conventions lately. There's another one in Austin coming up soon. It's got Billy Carson and Randall Carlson in it. They're all networking together, guys. Look at this. They put Randall Carlson in the middle, separating Graham Hancock and Billy Carson. Yeah, man. Billy Carson may have signed some type of government contract. It does not make sense that an idiot, a total moron, he's just landing he's just everywhere. He's everywhere. Even after Wes Huff beat his ass, even after he's taken so much flack from Archaix, with Billy Carson, it's never been about the truth. He's a businessman. Yeah, man. This man here does not give a damn about how many people he burns, about how many relationships he destroys. All he cares about is, can he land that next big money contract? Doesn't give a damn. And one of the reasons why this little secretive cabal, this network pushes him, is because aliens and ETs are on the table right now. It's a part of the mainstream media narrative right now. So it's perfect to back him. He doesn't have to debate anybody. He's in a really good position because the whole world is a lie. And he's a really good liar. So he fits in perfectly with the scheme of things right now. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm dedicating the outro to Billy Carson. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's getting that outro. Look, they are networking across. I told you what's going on, guys. I'm showing you evidence. None of these. Iconic hasn't done any overlays with any of these people before. He's doing it now. David Icke. There's somebody behind the scenes. Archaix is on the outside looking in. Somebody behind the scenes is networking all these groups that didn't have any crossover in the past. David Icke's always been independent, standalone. What's he doing networking with this shill? Yeah. What's Graham Hancock doing networking with this shill? This is what's going on, guys. It's going on. I love seeing it because it shows me they're circling the wagons. And that's all good for me. I told you, listen, I live by example. I'm going to be the Ephesian knight. I will stand on the battlefield alone because it's not my power. Facts have a power unto themselves. I am not more intelligent than these people. I'm not. But facts will always overturn fictions to the intelligent audience. So as long as I keep throwing them, more and more people start spreading more and more. It's like tendrils spreading until finally there's going to come a tipping point when every time these guys go public, there's going to be people in the crowd. Hey, man, why are you guys running from Archaix? Hey, man, you're a shill, man. This dude Archaix has called you out over and over and over. Yeah, man, it's going to come a tipping point. That's why they're circling the wagons now. This is what's going on, guys. This is a protection move. 100%. Just like Graham Hancock, who's trying to fade out and go out the door while I'm steadily at his heels. Graham Hancock's now merging. They're merging ancient mysteries. They're merging Atlantis. They're merging the esoteric and mystical stuff. And they're merging all this to ancient aliens. This is what's going on in the field, guys. This guy here, don't ever send me emails again. I'm talking to my community now. Quit sending me emails about all these polymaths and all these geniuses and professors out there. I keep calling these guys out for debate and they keep running. Quit doing it. Yeah, this guy is unimpressive to me as well. Yeah, I'm tired of that shit. Jason Reza Jorjani. Yeah, all that Atlantis big talk. All getting up in colleges and being a professor, none of that shit impresses me at all. What's going to impress me is if Jorjani comes on my channel and opposes me on this Atlantis shit. Let's hash this shit out. Because it doesn't matter if you think you leave a debate winning. It doesn't matter. Because everybody in the chat is going to know fact from fiction. Doesn't matter how good you are at arguing. It doesn't matter how good you can overtalk somebody. It doesn't matter how if you come well dressed in a pinstripe suit. That's what Billy Carson does. He thinks the better he dresses, people won't realize he's a moron. Yeah, man, I'm trying to hear it, man. It's fool's rap is all it is. Yeah, man. We got saran wrap for our food, and we got fool's rap for morons. This guy here, he's on the circuit. David Hatcher Childress. I've sure talked good about this guy in my early years. I've showed you all his books. I have a shelf with all his published books. Yeah, man, he sold out. Absolute sellout to the ancient aliens. And what I mean is if he truly believed in UFOs and ancient aliens and all that stuff, I would respect that, but I don't respect it because I've read all of his books and he does not push that ancient aliens narrative in his books. But when it came to ancient aliens, contracting him, oh yeah, man, he's all on board. I don't know how much they paid him, but he sold out for the shekels. Simple as that. Yep. David Hatcher Childress. There he is. And this guy, I've been looking for his picture. I had an errant send it to me today because I put a deal on X. Has anybody seen a picture of David Edward? Why can't I find one? I have 2 David Edward books on my shelf. I need a picture of David Edward because David Edward needs to be called out as well. He has been promoting and pushing that Rishat structure bullshit. He endorses Jimmy Corsetti. Yeah, David Edward. The reason I'm calling it out is because you've had sufficient time. You've never mentioned Jason of Archaix undermining that research. Cool. I'm going to include you in the shill network. That's David Edward. Here's another David. Go figure. David Icke. He's starting to network with the ancient aliens. And I mean, he's always had some really weird beliefs and idiosyncrasies. And look, I tell you guys all the time, there's going to come a time in your walk where you're going to outgrow Jason of Archaix, and it's cool. It's time to move on. How many times have I told you that over the years? There's going to come a time where you're going to outgrow me, and it's good. It's good to move on. Yeah, man, don't ever meet your heroes. I've said all these things on my channel. I'll also tell you that there's always comes a time in the walk of a spiritual being when learning becomes an impediment to knowing. You need to discern for yourself when that time arrives for you. The reason I'm saying all this is because he was instrumental in waking me up in the 90s when I came into contact with his books. And then from till about 2006, I really followed David Icke, and I bought all his books. But I outgrew him and I moved on and I became something better. So I encourage that to everybody who listens to me as well. There's going to come a time in your walk when you're going to feel that I can't offer you any more value. That's when you need to move on, because somebody else out there in the field will always be providing value if you can't get it here. Yeah, man. It's just the way of the spirit. I've moved. I got nothing personal against him, but I'm not listening to all this bullshit he puts out, especially when he's networking with shills like Billy Carson. No, man. No. Billy Carson is going to infect every single relationship, every professional relationship that Billy Carson attaches himself to. It's going to be counterproductive. They're not going to realize it till it's too late. They're not. They're all chasing dollar signs right now, but there are always spiritual repercussions for who you align yourself to. This dude is super, right? You can see it in his eyes. He is vacuous, empty, scraped out, and hollow. There is something wrong with that soul. Absolutely, dude. Something wrong with that soul. This guy is probably the most intelligent of everybody that I have shown. Robert Seifer. Robert Seifer is also very successful. He has rebranded himself from his early days into a very successful anthropologist. I've got nothing but respect for that. Robert Seifer is probably, like I said, he's probably the smartest of everybody that I mentioned and showed pictures to. But he still promotes the Atlantis, Younger Dryas, Ice Age, Atlantis, back Cro-Magnon, Magdalenian branch, all that period there. And listen, he's not in the thick of it like everybody else, but he does paint that scenario in his videos. So yeah, man, it's not cool. I'm not cool with it. I'm not cool with it at all. So, like I said, I respect the man as a professional, and I respect that his other work is fantastic. But when it comes to the Atlantis narrative, he leans really heavy on the Graham Hancock version. He leans real heavy on the Theosophical Society version. That's because he does have a background in the research on mysticism, the occult. Helena Blavatsky, he's done this. He's done his homework on these issues, but he's also borrowed into that model. I wouldn't really classify him with the shills, but he's mistaken. But I'm mentioning here because he's another one. Yeah, man, you're a leader in your field. Why are you so quiet? Yeah, I know that he doesn't have any love for me, but that's beside the point. Why haven't you put out an amazing video saying, look, guys, there's a lot I disagree with about Jason of Archaix, but I want you guys to see this data. And look what I found too. Yeah, just go through my whole Atlantis data set. I would send it to anybody who wants it. It's a huge PDF, all the Atlantis material in the data set, and just go through it. Why hasn't anyone ever done this? The only thing I can think of is somebody behind the scenes is preventing it from happening. That's all I can think of. Yeah, man. That's all I can think of. Well, that's Graham Hancock, G.G. Young, Dark Journalist, David Hatcher Childress, Randall Carlson, Jimmy Corsetti, Billy Carson, Matt LaCroix, Greg Braden, Jason Reza, Jorjani, Robert Seifer, Dan Richards, Ken Wheeler, David Icke, David Edward. My list is growing, guys. My list is growing. I am going to map out what I'm perceiving to be a network of personalities and platforms that are working together behind the scenes. If any of them want to be removed from that list, and that list is going to grow, then you got to show me some evidence that I'm full of shit. Because otherwise, there's no way in hell that none of these people have seen these data sets by now. There's no way. There's no way. Absolutely no way. So that is my presentation, guys. There's really nothing else to say. Ken Wheeler is an epic fail when it comes to Atlantis. On his other avenues of research, I'm not even commenting on that. I don't know anything about his other avenues of research. I don't know what he's involved in. I don't know shit. And nor do I care. He's not even on my radar. What's on my radar is Atlantis research. That's what's on my radar. And this was an epic fail. This was Graham Hancock BS, all repackaged by somebody who was supposed to be a polymath, somebody supposed to be scholarly. I'm not trying to hear any of that shit. None of it. Yeah, man. I'm in Texas, but I should be from the show me state. But yeah, man, it's just so crazy. So we have the door on Cypher still open. I think 3 or 4 people joined in the last 2 or 3 days. I'm closing the door. Before NFL starts, I'm closing the door. We are not opening the door again like last year till after Super Bowl. And this year, I'm sorry, man, I'm going to be an asshole. I am not trying to hear it. People last year, I was real lenient. I'm not lenient this year. I got too much on the table. I'm doing too much. I'm spread too thin. I'm just not. Yeah. You're going to get in or you're going to get in. You're going to get in or you're not. Let's see. Oh. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to talk about right now, except for we still have tickets. We still have tickets if you want to come meet me in person. Yeah, man, we still have tickets for San Diego meetup, restaurant and bar hangout, and all-day beach party the next day. So that's you'll be able to see me in my come get me's. Yeah, man. That's in September 26th and 27th. Let's see what else. We still have tickets for that. We got tickets for the Dublin meetup. The Dublin meetup's this month, later this month. Still got a couple tickets for that. I think that's about it. What you guys need to really hear, though, is this dedication to Billy Carson. I'm dedicating this song right here to Billy Carson, man. He's got an incredible future. Because I'm going to tell you now, the higher they rise, the harder they fall. Remember I said that. Yeah, man. Got much love for you guys.
Billy Carson, hiding behind the emerald lights, forbidden knowledge, but that truth's lies. Archaix napalm, burning through the night. Spin your tales of Anunnaki gods, aliens from the Biru mining gold in the sod. Sitchin's old fictions you repackage and sell. Emerald tablets hoax ringing that grifter bell. Claim degrees you don't have, fake credentials on show. William Tyrone Carlson, everybody knows. Pineal gland scams, decalcify your mind. Paywalls and course, leaving truth behind. Freedomites from Mars, 65,000 years ago. But the tablets say different, stealing the show. You dodge every debate, run from the real fight. and spun your yarn. Terrence Howard vibes, but you're sounding the alarm. Overpriced Egypt tours, non-refundable pain. Florida DA called you out. Predatory game. Handbags and star maps, misreading the seals. VA243 nonsense, no solar system reveals. Manifest destiny journals, quantum mind so fake. With Howard on stage, what a mistake. Sumerian kings live forever, you say with a grin. But Archaix data proves you can't win. You get so forbidden when the scholars unwind, losing your matrix, leaving facts behind. Call out the frauds from stitching to you. Archaix is rising, exposing the crew. Billy Forbidden, oh, you're crashing down. Chris the king of pseudo-science town, selling ancient aliens, fake history shit. But the napalm truth from Archaix heads. Run, Billy, run from the facts you fear. Your empire's crumbling and is near. Forbidden spaghetti, tangled in deceit. The world's waking up. Feel the heat. Oh, Billy, why'd you fake it all so low? Stealing names and stories, putting on a show. From the pyramid's depths to Antarctic lies, your hidden chamber's empty, no surprise. Archaix roars with chronologic fire, burning your bridges, taking it higher. No more hiding in your forbidden veil. The simulation's breaking, your tales fail. Billy Forbidden, yeah, you're crashing down. Oh, Billy, Griff the king, losing your crown, selling forbidden dreams. But the truth is clear. Archaix napalm, year after year. Run, Billy, run, but you can't outpace. The data's dropping, sealing your disgrace. Forbidden spaghetti, forever confined in the Archaix blaze. You're left behind.